Avengers! Assemble.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Excelsior, the world's #1 Marvel's Avengers podcast. I'm your director, Christian Buckley, here as always with the Apex legend, Jack Martin. How are you?
Excelsior, Christian. Very happy to be on the eve of War for Wakanda. We can smell the vibranium from here, and I'm very excited.
What do you think vibranium smells like?
I think it smells probably like, definitely like a metal, but maybe some fruity properties. Maybe some sort of fruit involved as well. You know, like it's this magical space rock. So it's like, what's this scented metal? It smells good.
I imagine copper, but like summer copper, you know? Like
Sure.
Just a very, very
whatever that
distinct
means.
Smell. Yeah. Like, but we got a lot of Wakanda stuff to talk about today. We got a hefty amount of marketing from the Crystal Dynamics team ramping up, leading up to this war table. We got a lot to discuss on all the blogs, all the info that will probably be highlighted once again at the war table, as well as some interesting MCU updates, and of course our first episode of What If in the back of the episode. But we'll kick off the way we normally do with Fury's report. Again, priority missions don't really exist anymore, so this is the last week I'll mention it, but Fury's report now is kind of just like, hey, what's relevant in the game right now? At the top, I will mention, reminder, there's a War Table video presentation, like a live streamed one, happening Monday, August 16th. It's been revealed that it will be hosted by Kinda Funny, Greg Miller, the other person on the internet who likes Avengers, will be hosting this thing. You and I are both fans of Kinda Funny, so that's exciting that the personality of Greg Miller will be able to deliver us this sacred bread or whatever it was. I forget the line.
Yeah, well deserved too, because Greg is one of the few people on the internet who, despite this game's flaws, like us, genuinely loves this game. And it's good to see that he's recognized as probably this game's biggest supporter in a way. And I believe he's co-hosting it with Sandra Saad, who voiced Ms. Marvel in the game. So that's really cool. I know he interviewed her for one of their podcasts before the game was coming out. So it's cool that they can interact again and do it at the like professional level for Crystal Dynamics. So yeah, it's cool. I feel like it's a really good move on Crystal and Square to look to the community and see who really likes the game and who can sort of evangelize it. And who better, aside from us, than Greg Miller. So that's really good stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's the general theme we want to keep in mind as we're moving toward Stark Realities this week, where the marketing, specifically the push for War for Wakanda, it's unlike anything else this game has done since launch. Just keep that in mind. You're going to be feeling it with more of these stories, which we'll get to very briefly. But in terms of what's going to be offered from this presentation, I remember, I think a couple weeks ago, there was some comment like, oh, new trailers. I think this was in the PlayStation tweet. It was like, oh, new trailers of what's to come for this expansion, right? And you and I assumed, and the community assumed, hey, new trailers? What does this mean? Is this like new modes? New packages for the hero kits, the villain sectors maybe? There's multiple trailers that could be cut for a singular expansion easily. But now we have a bit more of a directed focus about the content of the War Table. Specifically, the War Table blog this week reads that it's going to be breaking down everything you've been wanting to know about our expansion, from story to gameplay to our major UI changes and more. We know you're excited about the future beyond War for Wakanda. We are too, so expect some news in the coming weeks. For now, our focus is sharing our expansion with you and giving Black Panther his moment in the spotlight. So, Jack, expectations. I think last week you and I both agreed it's fair to have lofty ones for this. They're tempering them, I think, with this right now, very clearly.
Yeah, it's definitely a tempered sort of like, hey, don't get too crazy. Just to clarify, so there's the War Table like blog video, which is similar to like the Hawkeye one and stuff we've seen before, like for Kate Bishop, and then presumably immediately after will just be the live stream, which is more focused on like showing off like gameplay and like interviews and stuff like that. Am I right on that? That's what it seems like that's going to be.
I think that is it. Yeah, it's probably not gonna be a pretty seamless transition. So it's for those that are gonna be reacting to it. It's gonna be like, do we stop now? It's one of those streams, you know. It's like,
Yeah.
Is this the cutoff point? But yeah, I imagine that's the framing of all of this for sure.
Okay. Yeah. I still don't think it's out of the realm of possibility we get like a small tease for the next character who is presumably Spider-Man, but it does seem like they're highly focused on Black Panther. And we saw that with Hawkeye, where we had his War Table video and there was like no tease for anything afterward. So it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility that we'll get something like that again. And obviously this War Table blog is meant, or the video blog is meant to describe the War for Wakanda expansion. So that will be 99% of that will be that. But there's always that 1%. Could be something else.
Yeah, I find it strange that if it truly is only this, you know, we've heard the speculation of 8 hours of the campaign, all things considered. I'm curious why they would do this the day before. Like the day before it drops, that's free for all your players. You know, like, is this a sell, you think, for the people who didn't buy it after the free weekend, maybe? Or is this just general hype? Like, do you think them focusing on the expansion that's coming out within 24 hours of this presentation is more for us or for the greater public?
It seems like really strange timing. Usually you do stuff like this like a few weeks in advance, or like at least a week in advance.
Hawkeye was a while out, remember?
Yeah, that's, I think it was a month. Yeah, this is just super close. Maybe it is to just keep the hype going from all the gameplay and stuff, and like I feel like the general audience is not tuned into this game really at all. So if you're seeing a whole bunch of stuff on Twitter and you're saying, "Oh, hey, that looks cool," and then the immediate response is, "Oh, when does this come out?" Tomorrow, and it's free if you have the game. I think maybe that is the rationale, to just sort of continue that hype into the following day. I truly don't know, though. It does seem like very strange timing.
Yeah, because like we are approaching year one. We did learn that at some point this summer we should be getting our second roadmap, which, based off the phrasing, I thought we like assumed. I think they said next couple of months, so I think we were like, okay, so 2 from now, so that would have been July. But you know, it makes more sense the longer we get away from July. It's like, okay, it's probably going to be on the anniversary. Here's the roadmap or something to that effect. Maybe launch week from a year ago, which is baffling that we've almost been playing this game for a year, Jack.
I know it feels longer at the same time.
Yeah, I mean,
just for a variety of reasons.
Sure. Also, I put like 30 hours into that beta. I don't know how much you played of it, but the beta was going on about a year ago now, you know?
Yeah, I put less time in the beta than you did, for sure. But man, yeah, I mean, like this game feels like a 2019 game to me. Don't ask me why. Sure. But yeah, it's been almost a year. Man, feels weird. Everything's so weird about 2020, obviously. That goes with the games too, and releases and stuff like that. So yeah, when was the official release date? Was it September 3rd?
It was September 3rd for the early access version that you have to pay more for. That I did, and then, I think it launched for the greater world. I want to say September 7th.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Or the 8th, maybe. So 7, 8, or 9. It was one of those days.
Okay.
But yeah, so in terms of this presentation, we'll keep an eye out. Depending on schedules, there will probably be some sort of reaction on Monday. I will upload it if it's both of us, if it's just one of us, to the podcast feed as well, just so we can have some piping hot information on the podcast feeds for all of you. And yeah, War for Wakanda launches the day after. But speaking of continuing the hype, like you were talking about, we now know starting the day after War for Wakanda launches on August 19th, we're getting a new limited time event in the game. Now, I think what's interesting, Jack, is I linked the dev blog that detailed this event, right? It's written by Brian Wagner, who, if you remember, was the systems designer they brought in from Marvel Heroes after that game shut down a couple years ago, and he was brought in earlier this summer. And we heard systems designer. We were like, what does that entail? Is he going to make patrols better for the Wasteland thing? This seems like it's one of the first things he's been shepherding, so it is a new event. Events haven't been super exciting, but did you get a chance to look through this yet?
I looked at it a little bit, and honestly, I read through it and was like, oh, this just kind of seems like a standard event. But maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the framing of it is in line with everything we've had so far. I do have a few excerpts pulled just to get a good idea of what the Corrupted Vibranium event is going to be. So the blog states, quote, an upcoming limited time event in Marvel's Avengers that will begin on August 19th, the Corrupted Vibranium event. Corrupted Vibranium clusters have begun appearing across the globe, and the Avengers have been tasked with destroying them to prevent the corruption from spreading. The Corrupted Vibranium event's clusters will begin appearing on August 19th and last for 2 weeks until September 2nd, which is, the day before the early access anniversary. The following missions will have Corrupted Vibranium clusters that will need to be destroyed. Our Town in the Utah Badlands, Inhuman Condition in the Utah Badlands, And We're Back on the Eastern Seaboard, Enter the Avengers on the Eastern Seaboard, Stark Realities, Pacific Northwest, Here Comes the Pain from Wakanda, From Bad to Worse from Wakanda, and 24/7 Vibranium from Wakanda. So
Get some new mission titles.
We do. Is there a standout one for you?
Here Comes the Pain.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. That sounds like it could be a reference to something.
I'm getting like, it's funny you say that because when I hear Here Comes the Pain, I'm thinking of like Bonesaw from Spider-Man. Macho Man Randy Savage.
I think that could be, it sounds like that could be the name of the album for House of Pain, who did Jump Around.
Oh, okay.
Like, does that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I can see that. It's funny you say a reference, though, because From Bad to Worse, I feel like is a soundtrack title for something in the MCU. Like an Alan Silvestri piece, perhaps, from an Avengers
What's it called
film.
again?
From Bad to Worse.
Let me do a quick check.
Okay, you do that. I do think it's interesting, though, that we are getting a shifted focus towards new missions here. I know we do have the majority of them being repeats, but we got, 2 Utahs, 2 Eastern Seaboards, 1 Seattle, and then 3 from Wakanda. So don't know how many missions are coming from Wakanda, but seeing them give a spotlight to it is refreshing after we have, that one mission from the Wasteland on the war table.
Yeah. Definitely nice to have new missions. And from a quick glance, did not find any references for either Here Comes the Pain or From Bad to Worse.
Damn.
From anything.
All right, well, we tried,
Yep.
But I think that's interesting, because, like, the idea of vibranium clusters, I think, is at least more interesting than what we got from the Tachyon Rifts, where the Tachyon Rifts is like, hey, here's a timer, fly through these rings. And here it's like, it's still not super exciting, but, the process of maybe trying to track down these clusters, maybe they're hidden on the map somewhere, having to use some new Wakandan tracker to find it, and then destroying it. Like, I think there could be an element of fun there that isn't like an objective we already have. Yes, it's search and destroy, basically. But who's to say it doesn't, like, spawn some waves and you have to work cooperatively with your squad or something like that. Destiny spawns events like this occasionally where they'll be like, hey, stuff's hidden on the map, go find it, blow it up, get some stuff from it. So I think it has potential based off of what's on the paper here. But yeah, it's definitely on the scale, like what you said, of the previous events of like Red Room and Tachyon Anomalies.
Yeah, it definitely strikes me as the lower tier events, like what you were saying, Tachyon Anomaly. Like, and I really hope I'm wrong, but I'm just picturing like a giant rock that you go and beat up for a little bit while enemies try to defend it. You know, which is fine. It's fine for just a whatever mission, but putting event next to something like that is not the best in my opinion, just because event carries weight and beating up a rock over and over isn't necessarily fall through with that. I hope I'm wrong. We haven't seen anything about this, but just the description alone isn't the most exciting type of event that I'm hoping for.
Well, Jack, would it be more exciting if I told you these events, these missions are some guaranteed ways to get you rolls of the 2 new gear types?
Maybe.
We got vibranium damage and we got sonic damage. Which one do you want to hear about first?
Let's hear about sonic damage. Gotta go fast.
Oh, absolutely. So there's additional vibranium status items that you can find from completing the corrupted vibranium threat sectors during this event. There's a vendor in Wakanda who will also be selling sonic status effect gear. And what the sonic status effect does is it turns enemies into, quote, mobile recharge stations. As long as the heroes are near the affected target, they will regenerate a portion of their heroic and intrinsic meters. So, rewards the up-close and personal players, potentially like one T'Challa.
I like that. I do like the idea, potentially, of tagging someone as Iron Man and just floating down there for a little bit, getting my heroics or whatever up, and then popping back up. That's really cool. And it is, like what you're saying, probably more suited for the melee characters, specifically Black Panther and Captain America, and maybe even Black Widow. So that's a really cool one. I like that.
Yeah, I think it's nice, I think based off of our familiarity with Wakanda and the MCU and the comics, like sonic technology is prevalent in Wakanda. It's a way to like cut through, at least in the MCU, the effects of some vibranium. And we see Claw coming in, imagining he's going to be using some of this tech, because there was also a blog post about his faction. We're not going to go super in depth on that because, it's just some new enemy types, but they are employing sonic damage and vibranium damage through their movesets. So potentially, hopefully, this will bolster the gear and make each combat scenario a bit more diverse in your approach, depending on the enemy and what they're using.
Sure.
So, Jack, why don't you hit us with what's up with the vibranium damage?
Yes. So aside from sonic damage, we have vibranium damage. So here's what the listing reads. Unique missions are available for each hero, including Black Panther, that will task you with performing specific feats in corrupted vibranium threat sectors. Completing these mission chains will reward you with gear that has the vibranium status effect, which turns all damage dealt to affected enemies into a large kinetic explosion that can hit other enemies and set off chain reactions.
10 out of 10. That's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely reminiscent of Black Panther's MCU abilities with, storing that kinetic energy and then, releasing it. But I do like the addition here where it can sort of set off a chain reaction. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. It reminds me, I've already mentioned Destiny once this episode, and I'm going to do it again later, but there's a gun in Destiny called Sunshot, right, where if you get a kill with it, it's an exotic, it will explode an enemy into a fiery ball, and then their remnants will shoot out into a short field around them, and if they make contact, they will also explode. And then, again, similar chain reaction. So I think that's a really exciting and cool way to work that kinetic energy element of the vibranium suit and stuff like that into this game, rather than like it's a T'Challa exclusive ability or something like that.
Totally. I like how they added these 2 new sort of status items. Like, I really don't pay attention to these too much. But these both sound really interesting, specifically for me, at least the sonic damage kind that like is a way that will affect your gameplay if you want to have like a meaningful gear set. So this is interesting to me.
Yeah. And I think something like a vibranium damage, again, keeping in mind the potential that these things could serve in a raid, a crowd control character maybe like Hawkeye, get some vibranium arrows, just be able to like snipe some low level trash spawn enemies to distract them from damaging your very big damage dealers, just trying to control those waves and waves of Ultron bots or aim bots or whatever's up. I think it could be fun. Could be cool.
And new claw humans. A lot of those new claw enemies, humans.
Yeah.
I haven't seen those in a while.
Yeah, we got one spider bot skew.
Mm-hmm. True.
So we'll see. Maybe Monica recruited a Peter Parker, perhaps, and similar to Agent Barton, he's like, "Oh, I can help her stop the invasion." So.
Imagine if we get the Spider-Man tease in game.
Oh wow!
And it's not in a trailer.
I didn't even think about that.
That'd be ballsy.
Yeah, well, now that I'm thinking of it, didn't they initially say that Spider-Man was going to be introduced to the game through an in-game event?
I think that means like, hey, Spider-Man will be playable with this event.
Yeah.
I don't know though, but I think that would take a lot of balls.
Oh yeah, I would kind of like that a lot because we got just recently with the Monica villain sector, we got a nice little tease of some future content in there. So maybe we could get into a habit of maybe, dude, that would be so cool because like again, it's kind of mimicking the MCU, but imagine if like instead of putting so much pressure on like when's the next hero and we do some like Smash reveal style trailer, instead it's like, okay, beat the last villain sector of the expansion, get your little cutscene back at a social hub, and then, oh, here's a little tease of the next hero. That could be fun.
Yeah, I think that'd be a really cool idea, especially for a character that big. Like to have to like play the game or play some of the end content in the expansion to get something like that. That's a really good idea. That'd be cool.
Yeah. So this is not the last of the Marvel's Avengers Black Panther marketing that we will have before the expansion drops, I am sure. We're recording on Thursday, so there's still, as far as I know, there's still a dev stream that's going to be happening Friday afternoon before this video posts, so there's probably going to be new info there, again, as well as the war table next week. But exciting stuff. I feel like they've been having very, very strong momentum with all of this information.
I agree. I'm very hopeful for them that their servers don't die.
I know.
I'm glad that Kind of Funny is doing the live stream on the 16th. So like I would imagine they're not going to run into any issues, like launch day issues. I think that's a really smart idea. Because you don't want to have your official channel doing a live stream with no game that you're able to play. But yeah, I mean, in a sense, it would be a good thing for the servers to kind of crap out because that means a lot of people would be trying to play the game. But also you want people to actually play the game. So I hope they get an influx of players, but it all sort of handles well. And I feel like they've had a year to really perfect all the server issues and fix a lot of things. So I'm hoping it goes smoothly.
Yeah, plus, I hope it sticks through even if there is a larger than expected player base, because I guarantee you some people that will be here for the Black Panther thing do not have a spare second of patience for this game. No. Give them a reason to close it. Like, I'm sure there are plenty of people like that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But not on the dock. I did see this on Steam, at least. The Avengers, even after the weekend ended, the free weekend, was having, I think, at least a day where it had higher concurrence than Outriders even. So that was a little surprising to me. It must have sold some people on that free weekend.
Man, I forgot about Outriders. That that really came and like had a very strong opening, and I guess they did say it's not a live service game, even though it was a live service game. And it just really hasn't been catching people's attention since then. So that's just interesting.
Yeah. Well, currently, in the meantime, while we're waiting for what's up with the War Table and the new expansion, there is some stuff going on in the marketplace right now. I'll lead with this one because I saw somebody say this. I checked the official blog. I did not see this, so I don't know if this was a glitch or if at Play Avenger on Twitter was misinformed, but I heard from a little tweet that the endgame Black Widow skin is only 700 right now.
Yes, so certain legendary outfits and emotes are 50% off. So that includes, this is according to the blog, it includes Hulk's Gladiator, Iron Man's Prometheum, and the featured outfit as featured below, which in the blog is the Avengers Endgame Black Widow skin. I have not dipped into the game today, but according to the blog, unless it's worded quite poorly, it would be her Endgame suit. So potentially that is 700 credits.
Yeah, and I'm only questioning it a little bit because in the actual marketplace screenshot it still says 1400, so I don't know what's up there. But
yeah, I don't know.
Do you think if it is 700 you'll pick it up?
No, because it's a really good skin, minus the hair. Yeah. They had to stop at the hair, obviously. That's just how it works. But I don't play her enough to really justify that. And I'm really down on credits. Like, I got all of my credits that I possibly can. And I did spend, like, a decent amount, like, piecemeal, like, here and there. So, no, I don't think I should. I think I should be a little bit more savvy with the credits I have.
Yeah, I feel like you only need to bank 1,000 so that way you can buy the next card. Even with that, though, like, who's to say that this Black Panther expansion doesn't have his MCU skin day one, you know, just to keep that momentum going? The last MCU skin we got was Thor, and that was, like, what, 2 weeks ago? That's old news now, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that'd be huge if they dropped the Black Panther skin week 1 of War for Wakanda just to, like, retain that. I don't know. Maybe they want to wait a little bit, but I feel like that would probably be a good move.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Maybe, like, week 2, week 3 to just sort of check back in. But yeah, man, that'll be a good one.
Oh, absolutely. In terms of the rest of the marketplace, though, this week, what are the highlights?
So we're continuing on with the Terrigen, like, team outfit set, I believe it's called. This is the blue-based team outfit set. So right now it's Hulk, Cap, Kamala as well, Hawkeye. They're getting all their Terrigen suits. But yeah, nothing too flashy right now aside from the 50% off. We're also continuing with the Terrigen team outfit set. So there you go.
You want to know something interesting about the marketplace, Jack?
What's that?
I think I was streaming this game last Friday, and I booted up the marketplace, and I saw a takedown for Thor that I was like, yo, that's really cool. Because he throws Mjolnir, the person looks at it, he calls it back and, like, hits their head. I was like, this is really cool, this is fun. I'm sitting on, like, 2,800 credits right now, I think, and I didn't even max them all out yet. So I was like, you know what? It's on sale. It's 300 credits. I'll buy it. I've never bought a takedown once.
Yeah.
So I did it, and then I went to equip it. I have an emote or a takedown that is just like that.
And you didn't even check.
Nope, I didn't, because I was like, I feel like I've seen the same Thor takedown a million times. So I was like, yeah, this looks cool and new and fun. It looks like an MCU move. I would buy this. Should have been smarter. I feel like I've been very smart for this entire year. They got me. They got me a moment of weakness. So.
Yep. Oh well.
Yeah. So gotta be a little more stingy with it, I think, moving forward with these upcoming characters and their MCU skins. But
I'm with you.
So yeah, that is all lasting until the 17th. Would not be surprised if we had a new team outfit to go along with War for Wakanda. But we'll wait and see.
Yeah, would be awesome to do I think you mentioned this weeks, if not months ago, the like Wakandan team outfit set.
Yeah,
If they
dude.
launch that in time for that, that'd be awesome.
Like, for sure, I would love them to have that as a skin set. Yes, it would be fine in the marketplace, but again, I think as a reward for the Omega level threat raid thing, that would be even cooler because, gear means nothing cosmetically and you want to flex it. You're like, I beat the raid. So maybe two
Yeah,
sets.
that would be nice. I'm starting to think that skins will never be earnable aside from the ones that are in like the
Yeah,
challenge card or whatever.
yeah, I think
Um,
you're right.
but that would be really nice.
Hmm. So, why don't we move on to some stark realities? I said this earlier. Keep this in mind. The conversation we've been having about War for Wakanda, based off the marketing, there were some tweets from today I've also included here in the Stark Reality segment that we can bring into this discussion. But does it feel like this really is this game's make or break moment, especially now that we don't have the next roadmap yet, even though we thought we were getting it before the expansion? I think that's the main thing to think about going into this weekend, seeing how they tee it up, seeing the kind of funny presentation, like just how important is this to the future of Marvel's Avengers? Because we've talked about it being a make or break moment before, but I genuinely have not seen this amount of consistency and communication and effort and transparency about content for this game since like ever. Like I don't even think launch was this good. So where are you at right now with that whole idea?
I still do think this is the make or break moment for the game, just because it's the biggest content launch for the game, but at the same time, I do feel like this is probably a turnaround for Crystal Dynamics and how they approach Marvel's Avengers. You're right; we have seen much more communication about this game in the past few weeks, and specifically about War for Wakanda in the past week or so. So yeah, I do feel like this is the way to get players back into the game. I don't think we've seen too much multiplayer regarding War for Wakanda. That could be in the weeks to come, but like we've been saying forever, that is very important to this game because once you get through all the campaign stuff, it's just the same stuff over and over. So you need to have a really good influx of multiplayer content. Haven't seen a whole lot of that. I am hoping that War for Wakanda is a launch pad for future multiplayer content. But yes, I still do think that this is the moment where Crystal can be like, hey, look at this content. It's really good, and we're going to continue making more of it. And Square's like, all right, continue on with it. Or they release it, it's not received very well, and Square's just like, all right, well, you can keep making stuff for this game, but how financially viable is that? Like, the game might quietly disappear if this doesn't go very well. But I have high hopes.
Yeah, because I completely agree with you. Like, I don't know how many hours I have in this game now, but I guarantee you, like, an eighth of that is time spent in multiplayer. Like,
Yeah.
it's not the main thing I do when I boot the game up. I think it's a rare occurrence, but it is really fun when it works and when I have a reason to play it. Like, when you and I have played the game, it's great. We don't play too long because, like, how much variety is there to actually do? Um, I was able to play with Kevin Diaz, Mario Rivera, and Cameron Hawkins earlier this week. I ran through the Monica mission with them. Kevin and I think Mario were seeing it for the first time. So for Kevin, that was like, oh, I didn't realize that there was more to the old man Hawkeye story. Like, I thought that was done just weirdly abruptly at the end of the Hawkeye expansion. But
He must have been like, oh, that must have come out a week after the Hawkeye expansion,
yeah,
right?
I was like, Kevin, no. So there's this mission, right, that you haven't done yet. That it's actually like kind of the real ending. And he was like, one, dumb, why? And I think he even said like, oh, is this like around the Hawkeye thing? I was like, no, it was like 2 months later, like
Yeah, it
maybe
was
more.
months later.
Yeah. But we had a great time with it, right? Because like I think that was a good sign of them being able to design engaging multiplayer content, maybe a little more engaging than the first Omega level threat. But we're kind of all on the same page that that super adaptoid thing hopefully isn't representative of what the Omega level threat banner stands for. And I think what you're saying, I could see us get a look at a new addition to the multiplayer offerings from the War Table blog, even, or sorry, the War Table presentation, um, because through all that data mining and the rumors for probably close to a year now, the mining Wakanda facility Omega level threat raid, right? Like, it is tied to your new location, your new character. I imagine that is where the resolution for the Claw storyline is going to end up. It makes a lot of sense to show that off for at least a trailer or a teaser of it and being like, hey, check back in a month and we'll have launch information, like way more stuff about rewards, a whole presentation just about the raid. I think this would be a very good opportunity to do that because that thing probably exists based off all the people who have talked about it. And, you know, they have more Omega level threats planned. We know about one for sure. It would make sense there was another one. So
I think you have to tee that up around the launch of War for Wakanda. Because, like, if you do... I feel like expansion in this type of a game means more than just a campaign in a different location. Like, sure, yes, that alone is the most substantive content we've seen so far. Adding, like, a whole new biome and stuff like that. Yes, that is definitely an expansion. But with this game being multiplayer-centric, I think you do need to have pretty substantive multiplayer content as well, which this game really hasn't had yet until the Omega level threats, and that's, again, recycled content. So yeah, I would certainly hope that within a week they would tee up what is going to be some pretty good multiplayer content for the game.
yeah, because I think even amongst the hardest of hardcore players of this game, tell me if you would feel differently, but like if we can get into a pace where at least once a year we have an expansion tied to a character that brings a character, 6 to 8 hour story campaign, and a raid Omega level threat, then the rate of content we saw this year is kind of excusable. Like, if it really is really solid new character kit, really solid campaign, really solid multiplayer offering. Because, like, imagine a year from now we get, like, I don't know, Matt Murdock and a New York environment and a raid on Fisk Tower or something. Like, I think that's a cadence they could probably keep up yearly and then drop characters like Hawkeye or Spider-Man or She-Hulk or Winter Soldier whenever. You know, I think we'd be kind of more understanding if this was a marker for hopefully the years to come with the game rather than, you know, if things don't go well, a last hurrah.
Sure, I think that makes sense.
So, yeah, I'm excited. I'd be more excited if we see this raid. Like, I have a lot riding on the presentation, I think, but regardless, I'm just excited to see how they do with it. I sent you this tweet, Paul Tassi, who is one of the only people reporting on the game. He had an interesting tweet the other day, basically saying that he saw a really awesome video. He can't talk about it yet, and it wasn't Destiny related. And from my following of his YouTube and Forbes articles, he covers Destiny, Outriders, sometimes Genshin, and then Avengers. So he has seen Avengers stuff early. Do you think that this would be a comment on Avengers, maybe?
I think it could be. He's really dialed into this game more so than a lot of people are. So I totally think that's possible. And with the proximity of War for Wakanda, like next week, I could see Crystal having some press people like Paul, talking with them, showing stuff off early so they can have their write-ups ready to go for Monday and Tuesday. So yeah, I think that makes total sense.
Yeah, I think so too. I'd be shocked if it was like Outriders or something, because like you said, that kind of disappeared and it's been very quiet for a while.
Yeah.
But again, just another layer to this whole big marketing push for this game. And there's one more tweet I saw earlier today that I thought was just interesting, and maybe signaling hopefully some diversity in the content offerings like we were talking about before. There was a tweet from Play Avengers. They said, intricate puzzles can be found nestled away in the deepest reaches of Wakanda that are different than currently existing ones. Put in your Explorer hat to solve them on August 17th. And they showed a picture of what looks like a Wakandan temple with, like, I don't know, 6 different pillars and then a central pillar. And then all these pillars have switches on them. In the back wall, the video shows, like, a pattern of a bunch of different switches. So it does seem like some very light Uncharted level of puzzles, probably, of like, hey, find the pattern, hit the switches in the right order, have some fun, do some adventuring in these temples. So again, something not challenging, I guess, but it is different to break up the rest of this game.
Yeah, changes the muscle memory a little bit, and that's a good thing.
So this is our final recording before we get our hands on War for Wakanda. Like I said, we will probably have some reaction in some way, shape, or form to the war table. But before the content drops, Jack, is there anything on your mind left unsaid, expectations or predictions you want to throw out before we move on to the rest of Marvel this week?
Not really. I think I'm just expecting, like, for me at least, a 3 to 4 hour solid campaign with new characters that also interact with previous characters in the Avengers. And yeah, I'm excited to see what the word expansion means to this game. Because right now it just seems very campaign focused with a new biome. And I just want to see what that actually means for this game. And does the expansion stop on August 17th, or does it continue on with future content tied to that expansion in the coming weeks and months? That's what I'm really interested in.
Yeah, I think that's a fair expectation to have, especially if they said, I think this was it on one of the streams, they said that the Omega level threat for Wakanda is coming like a little bit after the launch of War for Wakanda. So yeah, I think maybe looking at this of like maybe a month-long season of updates for War for Wakanda might be the best way to set the pace for this expansion from a player's perspective. But I think you nailed it. I'm curious what that word means for them, because they haven't used that word before, you know?
Yep. First time they're doing it.
Yeah. And I don't think it's a coincidence that that is being used around year 1 ending. So, well, we will, of course, be back for more Avengers next week with our comments and thoughts, presumably on the whole Black Panther campaign. Next week, Saturday, Excelsior. Be there. Hope you enjoy the campaign. But meanwhile, I'm sure you probably enjoyed this announcement. Venom Let There Be Carnage has been delayed.
Yeah. Like, I guess I'm not surprised, because how can you be surprised about these things these days? But I really thought Venom was going to hit, and Shang-Chi, which still is on track to hit. I mean, I think Venom was supposed to be in September, I believe, and Shang-Chi is in September, maybe late August. So I'm interested to see what it means for that movie. This could spell a new wave of delays for Hollywood. We'll find out. But I honestly really thought this movie was going to hit in Spider-Man, the next Sony movie, or the next Sony superhero movie would be delayed in December, just because it seems like the holiday season is going to be unsafe, potentially, with the Delta variant surging as it is now. And I have a feeling that it could only be worse around times when people are meeting together even more so. So yeah, this is, unfortunate, because as much as I don't want to see this movie, I did want to see it pretty soon. So it is getting delayed, like a month into October, so it's not that far. I think it still could be delayed even further. This is really interesting to me, so I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, I think specifically it's a 2-week delay, so I'm a little confused. Like, I think we've all been expecting some things to shift around, but I don't know what 2 weeks is going to do with the Delta variant, when now as far as I know, I don't have a calendar or a farmer's almanac in front of me, but I think flu season is closer to October than September. So, like, it's a weird choice. I don't know what the decision was, like if this was COVID related or again, we've seen a lot of blockbusters struggling this summer to meet the old world standard, and it seems like studios aren't willing to just accept the fact that opening weekends are not going to be what they were. So, if we look back to the original Venom, I'm almost positive that Venom broke an October record when it came out, because I think the first Venom came out in October. And I think it was the highest grossing October released film ever.
It did very well.
Yeah. So maybe they're trying to replicate that. You know, sequels usually, I think, do better if they're received well. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's an interesting thing. And you bring up Spider-Man. The fact that it's a 2-week delay makes me think that Spider-Man might not move. But if you had to play some chips, what are you expecting for No Way Home?
I'm thinking when we get the No Way Home trailer, it will announce a new date being at some point. But the thing is, Christmas is seemingly tied into that movie. So I feel like that movie's in a like rock and a hard place. I guess you could say that Halloween was important for WandaVision, but it didn't really matter all that much.
Sure.
And that came out in January. So I don't know.
Iron Man 3, Christmas, right?
Did that come out around Christmas time?
No, that came out in May, I think.
Okay. So there you go.
Yeah, do you think that we're gonna get that comparison at some point? It's like, oh, Iron Boy Jr. copying the third movie in the trilogy. Christmas time, okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. What else would you expect?
Yep.
In terms of other Spider-Man stuff, though, I know you've been avoiding some of the stuff around this film. All of it's been merch. There's a lot of t-shirts, which again, t-shirts are whatever. They could literally be anything that has a shred of a detail in that movie. Like, I'm sure there's Babu Frick t-shirts, right? And that thing was in that movie for an ungodly amount of time. It was too much.
Whoa. Christian.
Listen.
Christian. I know it's the thing to hate episode 9, and that's fine. Deserves it a lot of way. But Babu Freak?
Listen,
coming after Babu Freak?
I'm
Moaning
tired.
Myrtle?
I'm tired of these people who hate porgs and are going to sit on their high horse and act like Babu Frick, who's just like, I don't know, from Jersey in the Star Wars universe and knows how to solder a couple things, is superior to the porg. You know, I don't even love porgs that much. I just think it's another little small thing people will take pot shots on The Last Jedi with. That's it.
Okay. See, I like Babu Frick even more so than the porgs, but I think
You're one of them?
the porgs are like the least worst thing with The Last Jedi. Not that The Last Jedi is a bad movie. But yeah, I agree that the outrage over the porgs is ridiculous. But Babu Freak, man, it's good stuff.
Yeah. Well, remember the Funko Pops for Spider-Man that we saw?
Yes.
And there was like the strange gauntlet on the suit or something.
Yes. Yeah, the Doctor Strange gauntlet. Right.
Yeah. So I don't know how you feel about the trilogy. Are you like worried about Doctor Strange being too prominent in this movie? But like, if it's a multiverse movie and then Multiverse of Madness is a couple months away, kind of makes sense. How much Benedict Cumberbatch do you want in this thing? I know you're not a big Doctor Strange guy.
He's like won me over in any movie aside from Doctor Strange.
Sure.
So that's fine. I've come to accept the fact that Spider-Man's going to have a mentor in all of these movies, in all the trilogies, I mean, or all the movies in this trilogy, I should say.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't want that. I think we've seen it too many times already, but I guess we're getting it again, to just close out the trilogy, and then hopefully after that he's just mostly independent. similar to like the Sam Raimi movies in a way, or the Mark Webb movies. But yeah, I think that's what we're getting.
Sure. Do you recall if Doctor Strange was in any Ragnarok merch?
You see, I don't really get too nitty gritty in like the, looking at stuff before we
Sure.
get a trailer. I feel like Spider-Man No Way Home is different because everyone's so ravenous about that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't remember if he was in any merch. I know we already had the teaser or the post credit in what movie was it? Was it Doctor Strange that he was showing up in Ragnarok? So I guess we already knew that, and the fervor probably wasn't all that much because we already knew that. But it's possible that there could have been.
Sure, yeah, because I'm just wondering if there's a chance that his role here is maybe around the same level. I'm expecting it to be more than Ragnarok, but I feel like I've seen a Funko Pop of him from that movie,
I think if the main character has like the integration from Doctor Strange, that he'll probably play a pretty big role in the movie. It seems.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it, I think. One last hit for MCU news this week, though. The Marvels, its cast is growing. We got Samuel L. Jackson returning as Nick Fury in Captain Marvel 2. Are you surprised?
Absolutely not. This is like the least surprising. It's good that we got a confirmation, but he's so tied to Captain Marvel that her next project will feature him. That just makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah. I was talking to Kayla this morning, and I was like, I'm just surprised. I don't know how I brought this up, but I was surprised that Samuel L. Jackson is still with the MCU. Like, he's been there since Iron Man, and he's still signing on for stuff. Maybe it's just fun for him. I know he likes doing Star Wars a lot, and he wants to do more Star Wars, but I'm just surprised that he keeps agreeing to this, because I love him as Nick Fury, but I got to imagine he's going to say no at some point.
I think the paycheck is probably very high and continues to grow. Mm-hmm. And I also think his role is important, but pretty minimal in terms of like how much he's doing for certain movies. Like Winter Soldier, he was in it a lot, as well as Captain Marvel, but a lot of it is like Infinity War. That was one scene at the very end of the movie. Endgame, it was one scene where he literally he doesn't even say anything in that movie, I don't think. I guess that was that was shot at the same time, so I guess you can consider that the same movie. But he's just not there too much, and he's more of a supporting character. So yeah, I mean, good for him. He really ties it all together, and I'm glad he's stuck around.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna be the lead supposedly for Secret Wars, right? And based off the WandaVision post-credit scene with Monica having to go to space, I imagine Nick Fury's going to be there, because Talos is boots on the ground Nick Fury. Fury's up in... Oh, yeah, that's been confirmed because of No Way Home. Or Far From Home. God damn it, it happened again, Jack, every week.
Yeah. Far From Home and No Way Home are just not different enough. Like, Homecoming, obviously. Far From Home, sure, that was a good twist on the home situation. But No Way Home, come on, too similar.
Yeah, man, god damn. Okay. Anyway, very cool that Nick Fury's returning. Speaking of Nick Fury returning, he showed up again, Samuel L. Jackson, in Marvel's What If. So, why don't we talk about the first episode of What If, spoiler-free, the Captain Carter episode. Thoughts, Jack?
Yeah, this is like... It's not obviously the important MCU changing projects like we've seen before. And I think that's what's best about it, is that like you're kind of going in with the understanding that it could be canon, because I guess everything's canon now with the multiverse. But these are just sort of fun stories that explores different possibilities of, if one thing changed, how would that affect character storylines? And I think this was a really good lead-off, where I really love the first Avenger, and it was just really cool to see that movie sort of shown off through a different lens of what if Peggy Carter is the one to take up the shield. And I think they did it really well. And it was very similar to the first Avenger in a lot of ways, but it had a lot of differences, obviously, that made it very unique and really interesting. So I really like this episode, and I'm excited for the rest of the show to sort of follow in similar footsteps. So, yeah, what did you think?
Yeah, I had fun with it. I like the framing of Jeffrey Wright's character, the Watcher, sort of narrating it and setting up the pitch for the episode. I think that's cool. And in terms of the actual content, like, it was fun. It was very jarring, kind of, because I remember I've seen the first Avenger a lot of times, right? So I remember most of the flow of that movie, and then obviously they don't have a full 2 hours here. It's only a 25-minute like time for credits, but like it's a 30-minute episode, right? And they have to really slam on they gotta floor it for this. So it was a little jarring. It was like, okay, it feels like there's not a lot of depth here to build to any payoff, but at least the scenario, it was fun, and I liked it as a Marvel fan. You know, it's just kind of making fan fictions real, so it's cute, you know?
Yeah, and it feels like this is the first time where the MCU hasn't really taken itself too seriously. Not that this is like a weird zany project in any way, because I don't think it is. But like it's kind of like they're side stories in a way, and the MCU is embracing that, and I think that's good to do after 10+ years of doing very strict canon projects, and this is just very much breaking the rules of that, and I like that.
Yeah, and I saw some people I know on TikTok. There's a huge creator. His name is Straw Hat Goofy. He said that like this could be Marvel Studios' Simpsons because it's animated. You could literally, like, both of us could probably think of enough ideas that have at least as much info and potential to mine as the Captain Carter episode to probably draft up like 3 seasons in one episode of a podcast, right? Like, and the people who get paid to do this professionally can probably think up laundry lists of what if scenarios that would be fun enough for 30 minutes, right? So I think you're right. We're like, yeah, this is fun, and I'm glad this project exists now because the potential for having fun and just doing random stuff with this is honestly limitless right now, because the whole point of this is one thing changes and then it spirals off to this different storyline where, like you said, it is very similar to the first Avenger, but there's also some major differences with the cast of characters, the major conflict in the end, the resolution of everything. So I think Marvel Studios could probably have more than enough gas with this idea to last indefinitely.
That'd be really cool. It would be nice to have like a break once a year or once every other year from the traditional MCU stuff and just have something like this where it's just fun and you can turn your brain off and it doesn't really matter all too much in the best way possible.
Yeah. Have you seen, I think one of the writers for What If, or at least this episode, said something that, like, I don't know if they were like hinting towards anything, but I saw people spreading this around of like, hey, maybe down the line some of this stuff gets adapted to MCU live action stuff. Do you think that this could in any way be a testing ground for stuff like that, or are you more so here for a fun time, nothing more?
For me, I'm more in it for, just a fun time. I guess it is technically possible with the multiverse. Anything could be canon here and they could explore that. And it seems like, dipping into spoilers here, but it does seem like they are continuing the thread of this episode into next week's episode. Yeah. So potentially all of these episodes are connected, like they are one branch timeline in some way. So it is possible that like maybe some ideas from the what if scenarios could be implemented in built upon into live action stuff. Yeah, I'm mostly looking at it as just something to turn your brain off and just think about different fun scenarios.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, we'd probably both, I'm sure many people in the fandom would be down to see an Avengers movie where instead of through the portal, we just see familiar faces from all the movies we've watched. It's like, oh, there's Captain Carter and Zombie Hunter Spider Man, like
Yeah.
that'd be fun. I'm sure we'd all, like the hardest of hardcore, would freak out, but I don't see a downside to that for the big event movies down the line. And
Yeah.
having fun with it, I think at this point, I'm pretty sure everybody's on board for anything because 11, 12 years ago, who would be watching this?
No.
Just what, 7 years ago, everyone was like, nobody's gonna watch a movie about a raccoon. Like,
Yep.
look at how far we've come. But
I think it's possible for like a multiversal event to feature, like what you were saying, to feature like Captain Carter showing up,
yeah,
or something like that. So that could be cool.
hell yeah. In terms of the actual episode, in terms of its twist on the first Avenger, any favorite moments for you? Any favorite little jokes you like? Sebastian Stan being like, "You almost ripped my arm off."
Yeah, they did play around with some stuff. I saw a lot of hate for Sebastian Stan's performance in this episode. Hate might be a strong word, but it certainly was not was not the standard Sebastian Stan performance we usually get. Very subdued. I don't know. I feel like maybe some acting gets lost in translation with voice recordings for whatever reason. Not sure why that is, but he just not sound very enthused to be there. But who am I to judge? Anyways, I really loved the montage specifically of Captain Carter in the air with Steve, who was essentially the first Iron Man. And the sequence itself was awesome. And I loved how it was an animation because you could get away with doing crazy stuff like that. In a way, you can do that in live action, but you're going to cut between like actual people doing stuff and like CGI that will probably age poorly if it already doesn't look bad. So it's just very seamless to have just these animated characters doing crazy stuff in the sky. I thought that was awesome. That was the coolest way of showing how Peggy is essentially the same as Captain America in her skill set, but showing it off in a way that the first Avenger couldn't. So that was probably my favorite part.
Yeah, I think I'm probably with you. I was hoping in that sequence, we got very, very cheeky with all the references. I was hoping she would kick some dude into a propeller. And then just like the mist spray of blood that comes out of the back in that first movie.
Yeah, man, they really got away with that in like 2011.
Yeah, dude. So, did not happen, but we did get, the Peggy Carter version of the montage where like Steve and the commandos bust down the door with the guns. So, like that whole sequence was cool. It was cool seeing that iconic imagery of that movie twisted to fit the new what if scenario. It was honestly a bit more rigid to the structure of the first Avenger than I was expecting for that time allotment, and I think that's my only critique of it, is that I probably would have enjoyed it more if it was a 30-minute, like, just one thing, like not trying to get through an entire movie's worth of a character arc, maybe.
Yeah, I'm wondering like what the future what if projects or what if episodes are going to look like, because next week seems like it will build upon this week, but then there's like Marvel Zombies. So is that just in a whole different thing? Maybe they play around with some being connected in one thread and others just being super weird. So we'll see. But yeah, I agree in a sense. It was very much. I keep wanting to say The Force Awakens. It was very much the first Avenger, but just with Peggy Carter as Captain Carter. So yeah, it did kind of adhere to that a lot. But I did like it as,
Me too.
Going into it with this being an animated project, I thought it was pretty great.
I think the funniest thing is that in the credits, man, they got Stanley Tucci back, and he had like 3 words to say.
Like Stanley Tucci, as in
the scientist guy from First Avenger, the German scientist that did the Erskine.
Okay, wow.
They got him. I don't know if they just like ripped his dialogue from that first movie and then had to credit him again or something.
Oh, they could have.
But I saw his name in the credits. I was like, damn, They really did it. They went out. That weird. They didn't get Chris Evans, but they got Stanley Tucci. Okay. Um, but I guess speaking of, what did you think of Steve, his performance?
I thought I'm forgetting the actor's name, but I thought he did a really good job of
Yeah.
sounding like Steve.
Yeah, I think he got as close as he could have. That was a really good performance. And it was interesting because I think he captured like scrawny Steve really well from the first Avenger, and being able to elongate that performance more than we saw Chris Evans do, again, was really interesting and refreshing, and made the whole what if scenario feel fresh despite being kind of the same plot of a movie we've seen dozens of times.
Something else about this episode that I really liked, or I guess what if in general, was the animation style. I wasn't really sold on it when I first saw the trailers, but seeing it in action, specifically the scene that got it for me was Peggy punching the punching bag, and seeing that sort of like the comic blows from it.
Yeah, that was cool.
Very similar to like just comic style, but also something like Into the Spider-Verse in a way. So I think for this being the first Marvel or MCU animated show, I really like that animated style.
Yeah, I do too. And I'm excited to see it translate to the other scenarios, right? Because I think another benefit of this was with a lot of the lighting, I guess, similar to the first Avenger, they were able to play up that 40s, 50s style with sound effects as well. But like when we get to T'Challa Star-Lord, what's that going to be like? How are they going to play with the animation style to make it feel distinct the way that most of the MCU movies are able to like put their own slight twist on the iconography of the MCU to make it feel distinct? So I imagine that's going to translate with animation as well, because with animation you have way more of a free reign to go off doing your own thing. So
Definitely.
I guess all that being said, like you mentioned as well, there's the ending with Fury and Peggy Carter and Clint Barton that is potentially teasing a what if Avengers scenario, because she pops out of that portal, kind of how Loki did in Avengers 1, almost exactly. Where do you think that's going? Do you think we're going to build up to a season finale that's kind of Avengers but this new team, or is this something that's just going to be festering in the background?
I don't know. I feel like maybe this upcoming episode is the Avengers one. I'm pretty sure I've heard people discuss like the first 3 episodes, and this episode might be like how the Avengers connected with Captain Carter being in the mix.
Sure.
And maybe there's some other deviations. Like if this follows that storyline, then Captain America or Steve was the first Iron Man. So what does that mean for Tony? You know, stuff like that. So that could be interesting. I do hope they play around a little bit more and don't have this whole season of What If follow that storyline. Like, I do hope it's like, all right, let's take a look at a different universe. But yeah, for next week at least, I am excited to see how this story translates to the Avengers. But then after that, I would like, just more unique stories.
Sure, yeah. My last question I have for you, I forget where you fall on the whole I gotta put her in the water ending for Captain America 1.
Oh, it's silly, but it's not the worst.
Did you like this more?
Yes,
But I did.
I was kind of confused. Like, it's the space stone, right?
Yes.
So I'm confused how that would affect time. Like, wouldn't that transport her to that location in the same time? I don't know. But I guess if they have like one line of explaining that next week, then I'd be fine with it. And I think it is probably a better way to get her out of the situation, out of the 40s, than diving into water.
Yeah, like you could easily just be like, oh, the portal that you went through was the hallway was a black hole, and now you're here. Sorry,
Sure.
Bad luck, you know. But yeah, I think that was a bit more. I don't know. I didn't think it was bad in Captain America 1. I'm with you. It is a little silly that we had to freeze him. So seeing this and seeing it using the stone was interesting. It reminded me of the theories we had for a long time about Red Skull, how he just got sucked into it and then disappeared.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was overall fun time. Do you think you want to have a ranking of all the what if scenarios as we go on?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think that's
Sure.
a very good idea.
So for now, the best what if scenario is what if Captain Carter.
Yeah, number 1.
So, we will be back next week with another what if discussion as well as impressions, hopefully of the entirety of War for Wakanda. But until then, Jack, where can the agents of Excelsior find you?
Yes, you can follow me on Twitter at FascinatedJack. What about you, Christian?
You can follow me on Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok at Chun2D2, as well as here, youtube.com/joyclicks for the video version of Excelsior, alongside the playlists for all of our other podcasts. You can find the playlist for this show there, or you can check it out on audio services like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, your service of choice. Rating and reviewing, if you can, is very helpful because it helps us out a ton. We appreciate it. It takes a quick second. And if you want to get involved further, patreon.com/joyclicks is where you can go to support us at a monetary level at the $1 and $5 tiers. $5 tier will give you producer credit on this show and every show we do, like Aaron Easton and Charles Applin. So thank you very much. And that is it. It's going to be a beefy episode next week.
Wait, Christian.
Oh,
Breaking news.
Well,
no, this is an
Spider-Man?
hour ago, but this is...
Oh,
No.
Okay.
Disney confirms that Shang-Chi will release exclusively in theaters. This is according to Culture Crave on Twitter. But yeah, no Disney Plus Premiere access. It will be in theaters. It does not appear that they have changed their release date yet. But you can only see this movie in the theaters.
Oh no. That sucks.
We'll see what that means for that movie.
Yeah, man, because like I'm really excited for Shang-Chi. We had a podcast episode earlier this year of like what project are we most excited for, and Shang-Chi was like I think maybe obviously I think the asterisk was obviously interested in Spider-Man, but more worried. Shang-Chi is exciting. I'm so worried because this is like the first Asian-led superhero film, and you're gonna have a lot of people, if it does not perform well, spewing a narrative. Not a good idea. I'm worried. I want to see this movie bad, and I don't know if I'm comfy going to a theater. So, yikes, that's a problem.
Yeah, I'm kind of over going to theaters at this point. There was like a hot second where we saw Black Widow, and I was like, sweet.
That was a great idea.
Yeah, Suicide Squad was a movie I wanted to see in theaters, and I didn't necessarily feel comfortable going into spaces towards like late July into August now. And I mean, the situation's even worse now than it was like a week ago. So yeah, I don't know about this one. I probably would have split the price with someone on Disney Premier Access and watched it. I want to see Dune with our friend Mike Connors, who loves Dune. I do want to see that in theaters. Maybe I'm tempted enough where I'll go and wear a mask. I don't know. I don't know about this one. I feel like it is possible that this could be changed, but right now it seems like with it coming out so quickly, it seems like this will only be in theaters.
Yeah, man, because we didn't really go into it much, I don't think, but I think because of that whole issue with Scarlett Johansson, I don't see any of the upcoming movies releasing on Premiere Access for at the very least Marvel, because I doubt contracts were renegotiated for like Simu Liu or anybody else in Shang-Chi or anybody in the Eternals. So like, you're right. I think it's probably only theaters, and the only thing that would help is a delay, and I don't think they're going to delay the entire MCU again. So. Yeah.
It seems like this movie's kind of going out to take a loss in a way.
Yeah. That sucks, dude. That's so unfortunate.
Yeah.
But we'll see if anything changes next week. Maybe something changes. Who knows?
Yeah,
I
this
don't
is
know what I'm
coming
gonna
hot
wake up
off
to
the
anymore.
presses, so it's very possible this could be totally different by next week.
Sure. So we'll wait and see. Whatever happens, we will of course talk about it next week. But until then, Excelsior.
Excelsior.